So we first heard about Weber's through a neighbour and friend of ours, Katie Roach, whose sister was working for Weber's at the time, and she couldn't say enough good things about them, and they just felt like the company that we wanted to use to sell our house. Yeah, right from the get-go really. The agent that was dealing with us, Johnny, was straight round the day after we inquired about Weber's selling our property. He was around taking photos. Really nice guy, very easy to talk to, very friendly and very positive about the property, loved the property, as did we. Yeah, I think he possibly had it on the market the following day. So looking at the photos that he took, the house just looked beautiful, almost to the point where you look at the photos and go,
we don't want to sell it.
Why are we selling? Actually, the house looked gorgeous, and I think it came across really well in the photos and online. So he'd done a fabulous job of presenting the house, and just was so positive about the house itself and what he could do for us in terms of, yeah, they're selling really well, this is the price. We'd had it up previously for slightly more, and he recommended that we dropped it because it put it into a price bracket, and I think that was one of the things that was key in getting the house viewed and sold so quickly, because it put it into a different price bracket. Yeah, just a really positive experience for them, wasn't it?
It went on the market, and a week later it was sold. I think it was the second person that looked at it, and they absolutely loved the house, and
full asking price.
And full asking price.
So, you know, as far as valuation, it was on the button, you know, and that I guess that showed us that he kind of knew what he was talking about, which is key. We'd had the house up with a different local estate agent, and we'd had a really negative experience in terms of having to chase up information after viewings and how things were going and what they were doing. Everything was having to come from us, and one of the things that we liked when we met Johnny and we came to Weber's was that they were very forthcoming with the information. They were constantly in touch with us about what was happening, how many views they'd had on the website, how many people were interested, when views were coming, what was happening, the feedback from the people that had seen the house. I mean, it was a very short period of time, but in that short period of time, we just felt so well looked after compared to our previous experience. So I think that was a really refreshing one. It was a massive difference for us. The houses we looked at were beautiful, weren't they, in terms of the ones we wanted to look at. And they were represented really well on the Weber's website, but they are much of a muchness in terms of, when you look at pictures, you don't get a feel for a house so much. It's more important to go and see it, so yeah.
We had a really personal relationship with Johnny. He wanted to find out more about our experience and what was our dream and where did we want to move to, what kind of life we wanted. And he took every single thing in that we said to him, and said, okay, I will have a little think and see if we have anything around that might suit what you want for the future. And it didn't take long. It took a couple of days, and he came back and said, there is a place we've been asked to put out for sale. It's not out for sale yet. We haven't even taken any pictures yet, but if you would like to see it, then I'll see if I can arrange for the owners to come and see it, and we can take it from there. We went through the house and look at potential, because he knew what we wanted, and you could potentially do this, you could potentially do that. We went through all the farm buildings, and he gave good advice on what we could do for the future, and because he knew what our vision was and how we wanted it. We walked around the land and we just fell in love with it. So we saw it, and that night we called Johnny and said we want it. We will pay full asking price. We want to secure it because we love it.
We said, listen, we'll buy it full asking price, but we don't want it to go on the market. because we were let down in our previous, and that was Johnny's advice. Johnny just said, if you say you ask him, give him full asking price, because you've been let down and you don't want to have to go through that disappointment again, then that would give strength to, why you give them full asking price, which was great advice. But they didn't want to have to clear out all the rubbish that they'd accumulated. And so we said, that's fine, we'll buy it as seen. So whatever they want to leave behind, they can leave behind. And they were ecstatic about that. I mean, it was a real worry for them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they were absolutely delighted. So delighted that they threw in an extra tractor. Because one of the tractors was already in on the deal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The yellow tractor. And he went, we're so pleased you can have the red tractor as well, which is a beautiful tractor, I have to say. So yeah.
That was his dream.
That was my dream.
I got the house, he got the tractors.
Yeah, so it worked out perfectly, really, in terms of finding it, and it was a very smooth transition.
But Johnny kept really good communication with us at all time. He couldn't have done any more because it was the time we were living in, but he constantly communicated with us what was going on. And it was a fairly quick transition. We did it within 10-12 weeks from sold to moved in.
Yeah, I think if he hadn't have found it as quickly as he did, and it hadn't have been as smooth as it is, we possibly wouldn't have got it at the time we got it, because then we'd have been in lockdown and things would have changed, the rules would have changed.
It took a long time in lockdown to get solicited to anything to proceed, because people worked from home.
To be fair, it was the interactions between Johnny were the really special parts of the whole process, but actually Johnny finding the house for us and introducing to the people that lived here, we built a relationship with them. So we would come down round many times before we bought the house, just to have a look, just to kind of talk about some ideas about what we could possibly do, wasn't it? I came over a few times to drop some bits off before we were moving, and really Johnny and Webbers facilitated that relationship, I guess, and made the experience a positive one, so that the relationship between us and the sellers was a positive one as well. But we still have them as friends now. We still go to dinner parties together, and we really love, what the fact they sold us their house, and they really love the fact we bought their house. But I guess
because we love it as much as they loved it. It's just that they got to that age when they were ready to move on, and they come out here.
And then I guess
they love what we've done with it.
Yeah, and I guess since buying the house, we haven't lost that communication with Webbers. We're still in touch with Johnny, and he still checks up on us, and he's been around to help us take some photos of the place and drones of the place. He's been around recently just to have a look at the work we've done, and I guess we've still got that relationship with Webbers, so that's really special.
Yeah, and quite a few of our friends have used Webbers after we used Webbers. We had a really good experience as well, and that's all thanks to Johnny, because he's so personal and he's so lovely, building up that relationship and knowing his customers. And also when we finally moved in, he actually came over to congratulate us. Do you remember? He came over with a bottle of champagne and some flowers, and he was so, genuinely so pleased for us that we actually got what we really wanted.
Yeah.
And also, on top of that, the people that bought our old house, same thing. They were so happy, and they're still very happy there, and they also become friends, and we still got a relationship with them. But when we pass our old house, there is no. Sometimes when you move from a house, you get these sad feelings that you moved from a house and you're going to miss it, because we were there for good 19-20 years, and moving on to something else, you miss the old life. But there's not a moment when we feel like we miss it, or we haven't. We can't. We still go and see them once in a while, but it's not the same. This is our home. Yeah.
And I guess in terms of Webbers' part in that was they made the transition a positive one and a smooth one, so that we weren't stressed as buyers and we weren't stressed as sellers. And the same for the people we sold to and the people we bought from. It was all a really nice process, so it now allowed us to enjoy the process, didn't it? I guess one of the things that we really liked was that personal approach of having one person to deal with and feeling like one person had our interests. That was important, wasn't it? Because it felt like we were important, or not just another number or another customer, but actually people. which was quite good, wasn't it? So
And he remembers every little thing that we have told him. He remembers it, and you don't have to repeat yourself. And it could be some personal things, and he remembers and he follows up on it, which is really lovely.
I don't talk about Johnny anymore, can we?
No. But yes, actually, he made a difference. If that would have been another estate agent or someone else, but it was because he was personal, that made a difference.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's the approach Webbers give for all their customers and all their staff. So if that is a reflection of Webbers, then Webbers are doing things right.
We recommend Webbers all the time. As soon as anyone asks what estate agent do you use, or do you know anybody, we recommend them all the time.
Yeah.
There is no one else out there on the market that we would recommend.
We've done it several times already since our experience, so absolutely we'd recommend Webbers.